record 48 political parties have successfully registered to contest the 2019 general elections. Now, that's 19 more compared to the last general election back in 2014. Will the high number of parties participating in these polls pose any kind of challenge for the IEC, and is it time to start considering electronic voting? Well, to help us answer some of these, we're joined by the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa's Terry Tsilane, who is also the former Vice Chair and Commissioner of the IEC. Terry, good morning. I suppose you're very bored this year, are you? not part of the big rush to the 8th of May.
Not as much as I really wanted to be.
Yeah? Are you having
I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the new role and responsibility.
Okay, but let's draw on your experiences and what you're saying about the size of this ballot sheet. It all comes down to practicalities, logistics, about these extra parties. Yes, it's wonderful that we have more people in the running, but how do you see that posing a challenge actually at the polling stations come the 8th of May?
There are going to be serious operational challenges. And I think it is also important to indicate that it is not only at the national level that the number of political parties has actually risen. At the provincial level, almost all the provinces, the numbers have also doubled. I mean, the Northwest, which is the highest, has got about 81% increase of their provincial ballot. Mpumalanga and the Free State they've got both 75% increase. Now, what this means is that the ballot paper is actually going to be much longer at the national level, but also longer even at the provincial level. So in order to be able to accommodate all the political parties, also you've got to compress a little bit the symbols of the political parties in order to be able to fit all the political parties that you have. So the first problem that we're going to have is that when you get to the voting station, a person who's going into a ballot booth is going to take time trying to identify their own political party.
Okay, so it might not be clear.
Yes, because remember the ballot paper now, it's much longer.
Yes.
And then also the symbols have been compressed a little bit in order to accommodate all these political parties. So that's the first operational problem that we're going to encounter. But apart from that, at the time when the Commission issued a tender, they did not anticipate that so many political parties would actually be participating. So therefore, the cost of paper will probably go high as a result of the fact that now the ballot paper,
so that's going to hurt the IEC's pockets, is basically what's
No, definitely.
Yeah.
But another problem is that you have a specific number of ballot papers, ballot boxes that have actually been procured. So that also is going to be a problem because it means a ballot box is going to be full.
Bigger pages, taking up more space.
Precisely.
So I mean, at this stage, though, can they fix that? Can they fix
Well, I'm hoping that my former colleagues are looking into the situation to see how they can deal with it. I've suggested that if they don't have sufficient ballot boxes, they can actually supplement the current stock by approaching the neighboring countries, particularly those that are not having the elections.
Is there a chance that we would run out? I mean, would a country like South Africa not be able to provide extra boxes? It sounds so simple.
There are always challenges. There are always challenges.
So let's talk.
The other problem that you're going to have is actually during counting. So because we've got now 48 in the national, and then also the provincial, so it means we are going to take long counting.
So the counting process.
Counting is going to take long. If there is a mistake and there is no reconciliation, it's actually going to take much longer. But also capturing that information into the system is going to take much longer. So there is a ripple effect that the high number of political parties would have in terms of the operations.
So let's talk electronic voting and why we haven't explored that option here in South Africa. I mean, this would obviously be a learning curve. If all those challenges, came, if what you're saying actually happens after the 8th of May, why haven't we explored electronic voting here?
We actually tried for quite some time. At the time when I was still with the Commission, about 7 years ago, we conducted a desktop study. And then after that, we had a conference with the political parties in Cape Town. But the major political parties, particularly the African National Congress and the DA, were uncomfortable about us having to move into that area.
Why?
Because there are always issues of trust that are raised. But also people who are opposing electronic voting always use very outdated cases where electronic voting did not happen did not happen properly, like in Netherlands. Netherlands introduced electronic voting in 1990 and then discontinued in 2007. But they never really go further to try to understand what are the factors that actually led to the discontinuation of electronic voting in those countries. I mean, in Netherlands particularly, the reason why it was discontinued because the manufacturers of the electronic machines there, called SDU, they found that in fact there were mistakes and malfunctioning of the system. That's why it was discontinued. But it does not necessarily mean that we cannot actually have
and I was just going to say, do you believe it could work here?
Yeah, I believe that it could work. And what I've suggested is that electronic voting, in order to deal with the trust issues, must actually have a paper trail.
Yeah.
In other words, even if it's a touch screen, you go to the machine, such as the ATM used by the banks, you vote for your party, you touch the screen and you vote for your party, and it gives you a receipt just like you get from the bank.
Say that you've done
then
this.
It can be authenticated by putting a stamp on it, and then if there is a dispute, then you can go to the manual ballots to count them. But counting would have happened and transmission of results would have happened.
It's half the challenge. Okay, well, let's hope somebody's listening and takes your advice. Thank you very much for that. It does sound like it might work here, but let's see. That's the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa's Terry Tselane.